Hello. I appreciate y'all tuning in today. I really do. So I was looking through this little upper room book, and it had the best verse right here. Proverbs 16:1-9. And you know how I'm always telling you, walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. You know what this is? This is one of those pins that you can hit your iPad or your phone. It's got two ends on it. That way you don't get so many fingerprints. And I use them all the time. I ordered from Amazon. Anyhow, this verse really struck a note. And it said, Romans 16:1-9. In their hearts, humans plan their course. Don't we though? Today I am planning, and I'll read the rest of the verse a little bit later. You have to wait a minute. So I'm planning to make one of James's favorite recipes. And it's Instant Pot, and I do it in my Ninja Foodie, and it takes 3 minutes once it starts cooking. You take cabbage, potatoes, smoked sausage, cut it up in small pieces, not real large, and carrots, cabbage, let's see, carrots, cabbage. Anyway, I've got the recipe. Maybe I'll show it to you later. I don't know. But it's such a good recipe, and you just put all that stuff, and you put broth. I use the bouillon, and that's a powder that you get at Myers, and it's chicken. It's same as chicken broth, and it is so good. And I use that all the time instead of liquid broth. I like it better, and I put that. It takes a couple of 3 cups of that. You mix it with water and pour it. So you've got cabbage, potatoes. Oh yeah, 1 onion. Chop up an onion, and I got everything ready. So I'm planning. And as he says in his word, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So we're asking the Lord today, establish our steps. That would be pleasing to you, Lord. So I'm going to do the best I can. I got my hearing aids turned off. I want to talk loud enough. I showed a little bit of that new tapestry, whatever it's called, that James bought me, and he hung it over at his house yesterday. He's getting things done for Grandma, which I appreciate. He don't think of me as Grandma. He thinks of me as his sweet little old wife, I guess. I don't know. He treats me nice, and he compliments me, and he tells me that I'm pretty and keeps me lifted up. I don't think he gets close enough to see my wrinkles. I don't know. And then when we kissed bye of the morning, I think we both must shut our eyes. I don't know. But we kiss goodbye most every morning when we remember it. Who knows? I say be safe. Anyway, this is a good little old book. It's just got some good stuff in it. So that's what I'm planning. And you know, it's so easy. You know, potatoes, carrots, cabbage, and smoked sausage, and an onion and broth. That's about it. Throw it in, cook it for a minute. You can look it up on the internet, and it'll give you that Pinterest will give you all kinds of recipes for that. I hadn't made it in a long time, so I looked it up myself. I like that Pinterest. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the other day I was going to tell y'all about how in 1960, we bought a brand new 1960 white Chevrolet car. So back in the rage days, back then, people would pinstripe their cars. Now, I know y'all don't know what that is, but I had a brother-in-law that was an expert pinstriper. And you can buy it from Amazon now, because I checked it out and I looked on Google at pinstriping. And there is people that can do it by hand with real paint. Well, we didn't do that. It comes in a roll, and it's sticky, and it's different colors. You can get the silver, the red, the black. Well, we liked the black because we had a white, the black, and the red. And so you would just put little thin strips just down the side of the car, and then a black strip right. Now you have to have a steady hand to put that on, or you're going to get it crooked down that way, down this way, the other way. But Stanley was good at it, And usually I let him do it. But later on, we got another car, and I did it. And I was proud of myself. It didn't look bad. I don't remember what color I used. You reckon how long that's been? I was probably 30 years old, and now I'm 91. It's been at least 60 years ago. Where does time go? I told James this morning. He said, well, you know, didn't we do such and such a couple of years ago? And I said, honey, it's been longer than that. We lose track of time. And it passes so fast. And now that I'm 91, it's spinning like a spinner. Time is going on, but I'm enjoying doing YouTube and talking to y'all. So you look on Amazon and see if your car needs pinstriping. And if it does, I looked at all, there is so many fancy pinstripers you can put on. You know, curlicues, and I looked at that, and they sell them too in other places, like from China, Temu, and some of those places that specialize in that. So you could have your own personal, whatever you want, insignia. Another thing we did in the 60s, James reminded me, he said, honey, remember when we put fender skirts on the cars? Everybody was getting fenders. I said, yes, I remember. I had forgot all about fender skirts. But I had a car, and I don't remember which one it was. But my brother-in-law, he was so up on all that stuff. And so he put fender skirts on his, and I told him, I said, I want fender skirts on my car, and I don't remember which one it was, but I said, I like the look of them. So he got me some, and I put fender skirts, and then they had these things you put on the back of the trunk that were kind of decorative, and I don't remember what they're called, but he got them too, and I says, I want one of them, but I never did get one. It just made the car look sharp, and I was with them, Phyllis and Stanley, my brother-in-law, and my sister's husband, because he was, when he passed away, which he did a few years ago, and my sister did too, he had in his garage, I think he had a 3 or 4 car garage, he had some old cars, and when the family sold them, they did pretty good, because he loved old cars. He had 2 El Caminos. Now, they don't make El Caminos anymore. Do you know what El Camino looks like? I bet you don't. Let me see if I can find one here. Let me see. I'm going to ask, because see if I can find it on Google, what an El Camino looks like. Well, shucks. You know, these things are handy. And I got my little iPad right here. And so, now there's all that striping that you can get in Amazon. All different colors. See that? But it's not cheap. But it comes in long rolls. Now let me see if I can find about El Caminos. Picture of the El Camino car. It was like a car, and it had like a, see, now that back, you see that? That back of it was like a pickup truck. You could put stuff in it and haul it. And he had 2 of those. He had a white one. Let me see. Ah, here's a red El Camino. Those El Caminos were so sharp. Let me see. Fully restored El Camino, because they restored them. But see how long that thing was? He had a white one, and it was so pretty. He drove one of them, I think, 200,000 miles, and that was good back in the day. And then he had another car that he got 300,000, because he would change his oil. I mean, he kept that looking sharp, and he could get good mileage out of his cars. He was what I call a shade tree mechanic, because he worked at GE, but if Buddy needed his car worked on, Stanley would fix it, whatever needed fixing. And then we had really good fortune. People say luck and all that, but we were blessed. My daddy passed away, and I have told the story. My mother was only like 44 years old when Daddy died at 48. Maybe she was only 43. And so she still had all those boys at home except for Norman and Tommy joined the Marines, so she still had she had 7 sons, so she still had a bunch of young kids at home when Daddy died. And she did get some Social Security to feed them. But she really needed a husband. So I started praying. God, help us find a husband for Mom, because she couldn't drive. She had the pickup truck, but she can't drive it. So when she would come in and stay with me for the weekend, I'd go get her out Fredericksburg, 20 miles. Well, my Aunt Mary lived across the street from me, and she told me about this guy that lived down the street from me that I did not know. Well, it was really cross town, kind of. It wasn't across the street. He lived across the street from Mary. This had been a lot of years ago. Mom's been gone a long time. She passed away at 85. Too young, I thought. We missed her so badly. You know, I still miss my mom. I love talking to her. But anyway, when I started praying, Lord, send Mama how? I don't know. So Aunt Mary told me, which I visited her a lot of times, and she said, there is a man that is a mechanic that lives across the street from me, and his wife died a year or 2 ago, and he just looks real lonely. And so she says he's a really good man, and he's got a couple of daughters that he's finishing raising on his own, and he's just such a nice man. So she said, is there any way you could figure out how to introduce your mom to Heber Wilson? That was his name. He's gone, of course. They're all gone. Them 2 girls are still here, and some of my brothers are still here. Some of them are gone. So I said, well, I know what I can do. I'll take my car and get it checked out. I think it needs I don't remember what it was. It needed, but something or other that we could talk about, maybe needed. So I went over, and Mom took Mom with me. She was in. So we went over, and you know, I had a dream, though, before we met him, because I'd been praying. Now, this is true. I had a dream that I met Mom's new husband. I said, Mama, I saw your new husband in a dream, and I have bad news. She said, what? I said, he wasn't good looking. I mean, he was a short little chunky fella, and he just wasn't a bit good looking. He wasn't tall and handsome. So anyhow, we went, and we pulled in where he could come out and look at our car and see what it needed. And he said, yes, it needs that. And Mom got out of the car, and I said, this is my mom, and my daddy's passed away, and she's all alone now. And anyhow, I hear your wife died. He said, yeah, she's been gone a while. He was looking Mom up and down. She was looking him up and down, and that's the truth. Finagler, that's what I was. Me and Aunt Mary, we were finaglers. I don't know if Norman and Denny know all about that or not, but that's what happened. My brothers watch my YouTube all the time. So anyway, they were looking each other up and down, and then when it come time to go get the car, I went back and got it. And so Heber said to me, do you reckon your mother would like to go out and have a bowl of chili with me sometime? He said, would you ask her? And he said, if so, let me know, call me. Well, we had a landline phone. I said, I'll let you know, I'll ask her. Well, see, me and Mom had already discussed, and I said, Mama, that's him. That's the man I saw in the dream. Remember I told you he wasn't handsome? See, Heber didn't wear his teeth, and he was a short little chunky fella, and he always wore a buzz haircut, flat top. He always wore flat top, and he wasn't real ugly, but he just wasn't real handsome either. But he had such a good personality. He had a good spirit. You could just tell it when you talked to him. She said, I believe I would. So they talked on the phone, and they made a date to go out on a date. He was going to take her out for a bowl of chili. I don't know where. So anyhow, I told Stanley and Phyllis about it. And Stanley said, do you know anything about that guy? That your mother's supposed to go riding in his pickup truck with him. Do you know anything about him? I said, well, Aunt Mary's been his neighbor for a few years, knew his wife, and she passed away. Mary knows him. He's a nice man. He said, well, I don't know about that. So don't you know, before Mom went on that date, Stanley came over to my house where Heber was going to pick Mom up at. But I don't think he met Heber at that time. I don't remember. It's been a long time ago. But Stanley did this. He said, here. He gave her some money. He said, if you have a problem, you get to a payphone and call me, and I'll come and get you wherever you're at. Mom said, okay, and took his money and got in the truck with Heber, and they went out and had chili. 8 months later, they were married. Mom and him hit it off like a ton of bricks. They truly fell in love. And she had 35 years, I believe, with Heber. And he would work on cars and all kinds of things. And he was a very healthy young 65. Well, he was, I guess he might have been 50. He was maybe a little bit older than Mom. I don't remember for sure. It's been a long time. But so he had his house, and so they lived in his house with those girls, and they hated Mom and never treated her right. This was the story of the stepdaughters hating the stepmother. They were polite to her, but not nice, really. I mean, anything they could underhanded hurt her, they would. They did not like her coming in and taking care of the groceries. The oldest girl was about 15 and thought she was in charge, and had been for a while, and she didn't like it at all. They worked it all out though. But my brother David ended up marrying one of those girls, the oldest one, and he had a happy married life with her, and they had 2 boys. But that oldest girl and the youngest girl never did like me very much, or Mom's family, but she loved David and was a good wife to David. And she passed away, and David is still grieving her at times, you know, because they had a long married life. And so Sandra was not a nice person, I'm sorry. She just wasn't. She just didn't like anybody. And the last few years that she lived, she wouldn't even speak to me. I don't know what happened, but she wouldn't. And David would say, and I would try to make friends, and David would say, my brother would say, and he's a kind-hearted, sweet man, he'd say, leave her alone, Clarine, she don't like you. My name is Clarine, Lois Clarine Baird-Rice Blair. She don't like you, Clarine, leave her alone. So I just leave her alone. And when she passed away, she requested I not go to her funeral. I honored her request. I didn't go. But one of her sons, they were wonderful children. They said if I wanted to come, I could, because she wouldn't have known it anyway. And I said, no, I respect her, whatever, you know, she's gone. Well, we hope she's in heaven, but we don't know where she's at, honestly. I don't know if you go to heaven if you have unforgiveness in your heart forever. You know, in the Lord's Prayer, it says, forgive us as we forgive others who trespass against us. And we, you know, we need to forgive and forget. And we can't forget all the time, and that's a fact. But we can forgive. And it's hard sometimes because everybody gets hurt once in a while by somebody that you like or don't like. But don't carry a grudge, because you know who it hurts? You. It don't hurt them. So forgive those as he forgives us who trespass against us. Forgive them. Let it go. Let it go. And another thing while I'm here, don't envy people. You know, they might have whatever you would like to have, and that's all right, but you don't want theirs. Let them enjoy theirs and say, thank you, God, that they've got it. But someday you'll get your own. You don't want theirs. We don't want to be envious, jealous. You know, the 10 Commandments are really good. So let's just let it go, forget it, forgive it. And like I said, you don't forget it. So walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And this has been fun today. So get you some pinstriping and pinstripe that van or whatever you got. I'm thinking about pinstriping We've got a 2005 Buick, white. Maybe I'll order me a... You can buy it at AutoZone too, though. I looked up AutoZone, and they still sell pinstriping. Maybe I'll get me a roll and do that Buick when the weather gets better. It's warmer here today, but I almost felt like spring this morning because it wasn't freezing anywhere. It was so much nicer, and I said, thank you, Jesus. And I took that picture of the sun coming up this morning and put it on as the short. That was one of the most beautiful sunrises, and I just had to share it with everybody. I love sharing with y'all. So God bless you, and thank you for visiting with me. I do have my coffee. This time, I didn't wave it around. It's still warm. I'll drink it at leisure. Leisure? You know I'm a little loquacious. You can look that one up. Love you. Bye-bye.